This video is sponsored by FC School Series. Get better FC24 and learn everything to get you to rank 1 and elite. We'll show you the theory, gameplay examples in a structured format for you to easily learn. And if you don't get better after 1 month, we will refund your money. That is a nil guys guarantee. Link is down below in the description and in the pinned comment below. Okay, what's going on guys? I'm going to show you how I like to attack post-patch and how I like to create a lot of chances. Now, one of my few things I like to do people don't utilize is, it's not an L1 trigger by the way, it's the precision lob pass. One of my favorite things. If you use a formation, especially with wide plays, is that you can basically ask the ball to be anywhere. So you can basically lob the ball into a line or a byline area and you can always get the ball. This works notably best, I would say, with something like a 3-5-2 or even a 4-3-2-1. So here go for a simple cutback. And I made a mistake there. I should have probably gone near post. But that's fine. But this is something that I like to use a lot. So for example, let's say I want to make a run onto the ball like this. Or if I want to, even if I want to clear the ball, it's very, very effective. Now, for those that like to cross the ball as well, it can be very, very effective. I'm not much of a crosser, but if you're like to play with Haaland, so on, etc., it can be very, very effective. Where I like to use, I was going to show you one example here. Let's see if I can replicate it. But you see, example like here, all that space, I can lob the ball to this side, and I can basically go from here into a guaranteed chance. If I want to score a goal, or if I want to get a cutback, you can basically get yourself into a guaranteed danger state. That's one of my favorite things. That's the first thing. The second thing I like to do a lot of the time, especially now post-patch, is to play a lock. So I'll normally initiate it. You don't always need to use it, but you can use the play a lock, for example, like here. Sometimes you can use to fake someone like that. You can use to fake a player away, or you can use it if you actually need the ball like this. Not the best of passes there. At that moment there, I was actually using ball relative. Ball relative with player lock is a bit of a weird one, because when you like to use it, you got to make sure you got the right player. But I like to use it because you can basically force a player to make a run into that direction. It's kind of like one of my favorite things to do. Especially if you have the ball, for example, like here, and you've got a person with a good long ball stat, you can actually request the L1 triangle and time it to perfection, and you can make it almost undefendable. And you just stop scoring now, because my opponent's probably going to leave the second time that I'm doing this now. The last person I played passed the ball around the entire time, and I don't want to record this again. Another thing I like to do is I like to do trickery. It's kind of, I call it the 1-3-2. And the reason why I call it the 1-3-2 is because the third player makes the run. So like you make that pass there, but then instead of doing a traditional pass, you do it with the third player. I think this helps a lot, because when you get the ball here, you do a 1-2, everyone reads it. You know what I mean? I'm going to rotate the ball back and I'll explain to you what I mean. So let's say, for example, like here, I'm just going to bring a player like this. I'm just bring Sam Potter into the equation. Sure, let's bring Neymar into the equation here. Let's say I do a 1-2. Everyone knows I'm going to pass the ball to Neymar, right? But what I do is I get another player, let's say run, especially a CDM, like a centre mid. So actually, a good play for my opponent. Try to get the ball back. Didn't get it. I'm going to run back here. Waiting for that extra touch. Dunk. What a card, by the way, he is. So like, let's say I'm not going to use Kiriok. He's not a good example. But let's say someone like Alexia. Oh, bit unlucky there. Should have got that ball. Like, let's say like Alvarez. So I'll do a 1. Well, that's not a good example, but let's say here, it's a senior, and what a terrible pass. I have to always be careful. Some of these lower tier players as well, especially now, I think, with AI being better in certain areas. But like, see, like here, instead of doing that normal pass, or you can do an L1 trigger. That's like here, 1-2. And then use that third player then to make that pass. You see that? So I'm going to miss this deliberately, because you see when Olga made that pass, the opponent couldn't predict it because they thought that 1-2 was the initial player. And plus, when the ball shifts along, the opponent's eyesight, the eyesight changes. So you can basically kind of convince your opponent you're going to pass to one side. This can be used with a lot of trickery. Of course, another thing to do is the L1 trigger. Not only if you want to run into space, for example, like so, it's also good to create a distraction. Look, see how Van Dijk's now pulling that player away, and that's create space in the middle. So I don't just use it to trigger a player. We all know L1, if you've been watching for a long time, you know L1 triggers. That's how you create space. No one's making a run. People standing like this. Oh, no, what do I do? No one's making runs. Everyone's just standing there. No one's doing anything. Well, that's why you got to use as L1 triggers. Force those plays. Saying to everyone, make those runs, make those runs. That is what you want. You want those players to make those runs so you can push your defensive line forward and backward. But what I like to do is I like to use it as distraction. It's more of a higher level thing. But let's say, for example, like here, that player is now pushing space to create space for Olga. You see that? That player is going to that space to create that driven pass area to get the ball to the senior and then take a shot. So you're not actually using the L1 trigger to pass the ball to that player, using it to manipulate the defense. I'll show you another example where I like to use it as well. So let's say, for example, like here. Here, I use the L1 trigger. I'm going to wait for the corner distribution to change for the player lineup. But let's say, for example, like here. See that L1 there? That's now also going to allow that player to free up. And you can see it's created space for us to pass the ball around. So these L1 triggers, remember, the best way to create space, not only in FC24, but in real life, the best way to create space is, of course, I think the player's going to leave now. I think I would probably leave. This was me. The best way to create space is by pushing a player away from you. Another thing I like to do as well, but I don't use that much. I should be using it a lot more. Olga's probably going to get beaten here, so I'm just going to change the angle of attack here. And that way at least I got a chance to recover here and then force the shot away. Another thing is another variation where you can actually move the player into a manual position. So I'll give you an example here. So like this. And I can say to Neymar, I want you to go in that area. Now, why this is effective, let's say you're getting pressed and you've got no one to pass the ball to. It looks my opponent has now stopped playing anyway. So I'll just show you the last couple of before I end the video. So let's say there's a player here. Okay, well, that's, I'm not going to record this again. Well, anyway, that is the example. I'm going to quickly show you this on a tactical board now. 1 second, just bear with me. I'm going to use this in my FC School Series, but I'll show you one over here. Let's say, for example, this is your player with the ball. When you're getting pressed sometimes, let's say you got, this is a traditional lineup, I would say nowadays, something like this. When you've got no one to pass the ball to and your opponent's into you, it's very, very hard to find your exit, especially when you've got the ball and there's no one with you. Yes, you can use the goalkeeper that creates an extra player, but sometimes you might not even have a chance to pass to the goalkeeper because of everyone that's in the way. You could have a player over there. What I like to do sometimes is I like to use this feature to bring a player close towards me. So let's say, for example, player number 2. What I can do with player number 2 is I can say, hey, I want you to come towards me, but you can also make them move into a place. The way to do it is you hold the left stick button, you face, so let's say you're controlling this player here, you hold your left stick towards the top right, saying to player number 2, and you press the L1 plus the L1 button, and then use the right analog stick to dictate the run. So if you've pressed the L1 button, face towards player 2, press the L1 button and then flick the right analog stick to the left hand side, this player then runs away. And that helps you create space for other players around this area and creating the attack. So don't forget the creative run. And not only that, if you're, for example, inside the final third, and let's say, for example, here, your opponent's defensive line is sitting back, which is a typical example of where I like to use it like this. Let's say you have the ball, and let's say, for example, you want the player to make a unique run into that position. You press the L1 button plus the right analog stick. And don't forget, right analog stick, you got to hit it the way you want the player to make a run. And that way they make that run into that directional space. Why this is important is because don't forget, if you just press the L1 button, the player makes a run going forward all the time. They don't make these unique runs. But with creative runs, you can make that player run into the angle as long as you flick the right analog stick. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to get better FC24, you can come to my Patreon, patreon.com/no guys. Link down in the description. Don't give up 1 more month. Refund your money. I've spoken so fast I didn't even know what I was saying. Anyway, my time, but links down below in the description. Thanks for watching. Take it easy and I'll catch you next time. Peace out.